Hey, Stoic warrior. We live in a world where people never stop talking. Everyone's trying to prove something. They prove they're right. They prove they're good enough. They prove they're worth listening to. They explain. They over-explain. They beg to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. But not the Stoic. The Stoic doesn't chase validation. The Stoic doesn't beg to be understood. The Stoic doesn't waste his breath explaining himself to those who've already chosen blindness. Because the Stoic understands something most people never will. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is energy under control. When most people get hurt, they rush to speak. When they're rejected, they chase. When they're misunderstood, they explain. They try to fix what's broken by pouring out words to those who have already decided not to listen. That's not courage. That's panic wearing a mask of love. Every time you over-explain, every time you chase, every time you beg, you hand your power away. And that, my friend, is the opposite of Stoicism. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they all mastered the same truth. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. When you chase someone's attention, you give them power. When you beg to be understood, you give them your peace. When you explain yourself to the world, you say, "My worth depends on your approval." That's not peace. That's prison. Real power is calm. Real strength is quiet. When someone disrespects you and you walk away without a word, that's not weakness. That's sovereignty. That's dignity choosing not to explain itself. Because silence doesn't scream. Silence doesn't plead. Silence doesn't prove. Silence detaches. This isn't the silence of indifference. It's the silence of mastery. It's self-control wrapped in calmness. It's the unspoken energy that says, "I don't need to be heard by you to understand myself." And this silence, it terrifies people. Because when you don't react, they lose control. They expect your weakness, but instead they meet your stillness. And that shakes them. So today, Stoic warrior, we're diving deep. We're talking about the kind of silence that builds strength, not fear. The kind of silence that turns pain into power. The kind that makes people wonder what changed and why you no longer chase. We're going to uncover 6 Stoic truths. 6 powerful lessons that show why silence isn't surrender. It's dominance. If you've ever felt misunderstood, rejected, or exhausted from overgiving, this is your turning point. This is your reminder that your silence will speak louder than your words ever could. Before we begin, I want you to affirm this. My silence is my power. Say it quietly to yourself. Feel it. Because from this moment on, silence isn't your weakness. It's your weapon. Lesson number 1. Silence makes them feel your absence, not hear your words. Here's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. Have you noticed? When you stop chasing, people start thinking. When you stop explaining, they start wondering. When you go quiet, your absence starts echoing louder than your words ever did. Now think back to the last time someone hurt you. They disrespected you, ignored you, maybe even walked away. Your emotion screamed, "Say something. Defend yourself. Prove your worth." But here's what Stoicism teaches. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the further they run. The more you explain, the more you devalue your own silence. The truth is, when you withdraw, when you go silent, they feel it. They notice the stillness. Because silence doesn't need to prove anything. It mirrors everything. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. Elbert Hubbard. That's the beauty of Stoic detachment. Silence becomes a mirror, a reflection of how they treated you. It says, I saw what you did. I felt how you acted. And I've decided my peace matters more. This kind of silence doesn't come from ego. It comes from clarity. If they cared, they'd ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they valued you, they wouldn't have needed an explanation. So instead of chasing, you go still. And in that stillness, something shifts. The power returns to you. You stop wasting your strength trying to be understood by people who can't even understand themselves. You stop bleeding energy into conversations that heal nothing. Yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Your silence will trigger them. They'll wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she reply? They'll feel your absence more deeply than they ever valued your presence. That's when the balance changes. Because silence says what your words never could. You don't owe them an explanation. Not anymore. Lesson number 2. When you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. The world is loud, painfully loud. People talk endlessly but say nothing meaningful. And in that noise, most lose touch with their own truth. But when you stop chasing and go silent, truly silent, the noise fades, and the truth begins to rise. After betrayal, heartbreak, or confusion, most people run to others. They want advice, validation, temporary peace. They'll scroll through distractions, call friends, or argue with the person who hurt them. But the Stoic does something different. He turns inward. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he knows this. The answers you're looking for don't come from noise. They come from stillness. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Silence gives you that power, because when the mind calms down, the truth surfaces. You begin to see things clearly. They never really respected me. I just refused to see it. I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry because I stayed too long. I don't need closure. I need peace. You can't hear these truths in noise. They come in silence, in the quiet hours when you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop fighting. Silence separates your emotions from your values. When you're hurt, your emotions scream, react, prove, fix. But your values whisper, hold your dignity, protect your peace. Let them go. That's why the Stoics didn't react quickly. They didn't make decisions in anger. They understood the sacred space between reaction and response. Modern society says, speak your truth, defend yourself. Don't stay silent. But Stoicism says, you don't gain respect by shouting louder. You gain it by staying grounded while everyone else loses control. Silence becomes your weapon and your mirror. Because when you go quiet, people reveal themselves. Those who truly care will step closer. Those who used you will fade away. You don't have to beg for clarity anymore. Your silence will bring it to you. Because silence isn't passive. It's focused. It's intentional. It's the doorway to your inner wisdom, and most people never walk through it. So when life confuses you, when emotions cloud your judgment, don't rush to act. Be still. Let silence do what chaos never can. Reveal the truth. Lesson number 3. Silence protects you from emotional slavery. One of the hardest lessons a Stoic learns is this. Not every reaction deserves your energy. Because the moment you react to everything, you become a slave to everything. Someone disrespects you, you react. Someone misunderstands you, you explain. Someone ignores you, you chase. And slowly, without realizing it, your peace starts depending on how others treat you. That's emotional slavery. It's when your inner world dances to the tune of external noise. But silence breaks that chain. When you stop responding to everything, when you let go of the need to always reply, you stop living as a puppet of emotion and start living as a master of self. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Zeno of Citium. Every Stoic understood this. Silence isn't about running away. It's about standing still while your emotions burn out. You see, reacting gives them control. But pausing, that's how you take it back. Because in silence, anger dissolves, ego softens, and truth becomes visible. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't respond, you're not weak. You're wise. They expected chaos, but you gave them calmness. They expected you to beg, but you gave them distance. They expected drama, but you gave them silence. And that's what truly disturbs them. Your silence becomes their mirror. They start facing themselves, their guilt, their disrespect, their insecurity. They'll call you cold, arrogant, detached, but that's only because they can't manipulate you anymore. Remember, silence doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you've chosen not to feed it. It means you've chosen peace over reaction, purpose over ego. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." When you stay silent, you stop carrying that acid inside. You cleanse your mind by refusing to play emotional games. The world will test you with chaos, but the Stoic doesn't respond to every noise. He responds only to reason. He doesn't let his emotions drag him into darkness. He lets silence guard his strength until the storm passes. And when the storm is over, who's left standing? The one who stayed calm. The one who didn't explain. The one who didn't chase. That's you, the silent warrior who turned restraint into power. Lesson number 4. Silence commands, respect without demanding it. The greatest irony of life is that those who speak less are often heard the most. In a society where everyone shouts to be noticed, silence becomes a statement. It becomes rare, powerful, magnetic. Because when you stop chasing attention, people start giving it. When you stop explaining, people start wondering what you know. When you stop begging for respect, you start commanding it, without saying a word. That's the Stoic paradox of power. The less you demand, the more you attract. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. That's what silence says. It doesn't argue, it embodies. You don't have to tell people who you are. Your discipline will reveal it. Your calmness will intimidate them. Your stillness will make them question themselves. Because people expect weakness. They expect a reaction. They expect you to explain your worth. But when you don't, when you walk away quietly, when you hold your ground in silence, it shakes their perception. They can't label you anymore. They can't predict you anymore. And that mystery, that unpredictability, it demands respect. You see, silence is misunderstood by the shallow. They think silence means ignorance. But to the wise, silence means depth. The more self-aware you become, the less you need to prove. The more disciplined you become, the less you need to argue. Because respect born from silence lasts longer than approval born from noise. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, yet he was humble, calm, quiet. He didn't shout to be obeyed. His silence carried authority. He didn't threaten with words. His composure inspired obedience. You don't have to shout to be strong. You don't have to explain to be understood. You don't have to demand to be respected. Just live with discipline, act with purpose, and stay silent when others lose control. Because respect earned through silence is built on strength, not fear. And here's the secret. When you no longer crave their respect, that's exactly when they start giving it. Lesson number 5. Silence separates you from the weak. Most people don't know how to sit with silence. It scares them, because silence forces them to meet the one person they've been running from all their lives, themselves. That's why weak people talk so much. They talk to hide their insecurity. They argue to feel in control. They post, shout, and explain, not because they're sure of themselves, but because they're terrified of what they'll hear in the quiet. But you, the Stoic warrior, you're different. You've learned that silence is not emptiness, it's refinement. It's the training ground of strength. When you sit in silence, the world reveals its noise. You start to see what others can't, the desperation behind people's words, the fear behind their anger, the confusion behind their confidence. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. That calm mind isn't built through noise, it's built through silence. Silence teaches you to endure without complaining, to observe without reacting, to wait without anxiety. And that's where separation happens. The moment you stop chasing attention, you rise above those still addicted to it. The moment you no longer explain yourself, you separate from those who still need validation to breathe. Weak minds think power is loud, shouting, arguing, proving. Strong minds know power is quiet, observing, deciding, acting. Your silence will make you stand alone sometimes. You'll lose people who can't understand it. You'll be called cold, distant, changed. But remember, that's not isolation. That's elevation. You're not disconnecting from the world. You're detaching from its weakness. You're no longer reacting to every emotion that passes through others. You're mastering your own. Seneca said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you can improve. Silence helps you find them, the ones who speak little but live deeply, because the loudest rooms rarely contain the wisest voices. So let the weak talk. Let them prove, chase, and explain. You just stay still, stay grounded, stay silent. Because silence doesn't mean you're done. It means you've already won, internally." Lesson number 6. Silence turns pain into power. When everything falls apart, when betrayal cuts deep, when loss steals your peace, silence becomes your healing ground. Most people drown in their pain because they never let it breathe in silence. They keep talking about it, replaying it, feeding it with words. They turn their wounds into stories instead of lessons. But the Stoic knows, pain is not your enemy. Your reaction to pain is. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca Islands is where suffering ends and understanding begins. Because when you stop reacting to pain, you start learning from it. You see how much you've grown. You see who never deserved your loyalty. You see that every loss was just clearing the space for your evolution. Silence transforms pain into perspective. It turns heartbreak into wisdom. It converts chaos into clarity. When you stop talking about your pain, it doesn't mean you're suppressing it. It means you're letting it mature inside you until it becomes strength. Silence lets the wound close properly. It gives you distance to see the truth. Nothing external truly breaks you. Only your attachment does. That's why the Stoics practiced calm after crisis. They didn't rant. They didn't seek pity. They accepted, reflected, and grew. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, and death, yet his words remained calm. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's what silence does. It transforms the obstacle into the path. When you stay silent, you're not avoiding pain. You're processing it. You're letting your emotions settle so wisdom can surface. You're turning what was meant to destroy you into the foundation of your inner power. And one day, when people ask, "How did you heal?" you'll simply smile, because they'll never understand that your greatest recovery came not from speaking about it, but from staying silent and letting time, wisdom, and discipline do their work. That's the silent power Stoicism teaches. You don't heal by noise, you heal by peace. You rebuild in stillness. Your silence is your superpower. In the end, Stoic warrior, silence is not emptiness. It's full of meaning, strength, and truth. When you stop chasing, stop begging, stop explaining, the world finally meets the version of you it can't control. They'll call you distant because you're no longer available for their chaos. They'll call you cold because your peace no longer bends for their approval. But that's fine. Let them call you whatever they want. You've reclaimed your power, because silence doesn't just protect you. It transforms you. It rebuilds your strength, sharpens your focus, and purifies your mind. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus Aurelius. So don't react, don't explain, don't chase, just watch. Watch how your silence unsettles those who once thrived on your reactions. Watch how it exposes their weakness and amplifies your strength. Your silence will speak volumes. It will command respect without a word. It will draw the right people, repel the wrong ones, and bring peace to your inner world. From this moment on, carry this Stoic truth. You owe no one an explanation for your peace. Stay calm, stay grounded, stay silent, because the warrior who speaks less conquers more. And remember, when you stop chasing and start staying silent, everything changes.